think, in some ways, I think that's of course true, and but at the same time, we will always wanted to always leave a bit to ourselves, and give you guys a surprise. So we are working on the game release, and also and the lands as well. So checking out the whole land mint situation and figuring out what's the best way forward. Because during bear markets, it's sometimes not the most exciting time, but it's also the kind of the time where um, a lot of people could gel together and work together. So looking for, I saw a lot of proposals. I just came back, saw a lot of proposals about what to do with the remaining supply. Definitely, like cutting the supply is one plausible way forward. Um, and Yeah, I mean, previously when we first launched our Ascenders, we had a demo. We actually really did build it in 2 months, actually 2 months for the trailer and then 2 months for the game demo. It's actually quite a relatively easy build, actually, and a lot of excitement from there. And we got a lot of community OG community members like yourself that got really excited about Senders, which we're very happy with. But we wanted to do something different. It's something that we've always strived to do, which was that's why we didn't launch an NFT or any token when we started off a year ago. We always wanted to deliver NFTs and our tokens with value. It's backed by strong utility, because I think we're more of a product driven kind of company. And yeah, so I think after a year of building, and we actually built like really cool tech on and actually building our lands. And we thought that was we were ready, but of course the market is less ready now. But I do feel overall I do feel good about it. And The reason why is if I launched like a JPEG in last year, I'm sure people will buy it for like an ETH, half an ETH, at that price point back then. But people have been bleeding throughout the bear market, so that's pretty probably unwanted. And now we're in the bear market. It's better to build now and release something that we find it's reasonably reasonable. So the NFTs, I think the quality is top tier. And With the reason we know we consider 70. Yeah, some people consider $70 pretty expensive, but given its limited supply, it's actually we think it's very reasonable starting point, and we could always we could easily deliver value to our kind of community members and our holders that is way beyond that price point. Easier to manage. Whereas if you sold at one ETH each, it's very hard to meet the expectations there. So yeah, I mean, one of the kind of hints we put inside our both our trailer with Arbitrum and hinted throughout is that we would have a token airdrop. Those are for holders, um, and yeah, the more like kind of lands you get, the kind of the more tokens that people love to get, you would get, and that's we actually have set aside like actually percentages for that. We can't lock that down right now, but we're talking to several launch pads and listing venues, including the largest several exchanges, on centralized exchanges there, actually, because actually our kind of our quality bar actually meets the kind of the standard they would expect. So that's but don't I never really want to confirm any of those, because until that's you know on the web page, it's very hard to lock it down and say it's confirmed. Although it's pretty close to some fruition for those. So that's basically what some of the other things that we're building. So there are also questions about why we decided to build a center simulation. Um, the reality is I think building Ascender's ARPG action RPG. While the demo is quite easy to build because there's relatively less things you need to do. It's a very contained small demo game. An action RPG is actually way harder to build. By you're talking about like a thousandfold, and even above other games out there. That's why Zelda took 7 years to build. MMOs usually typically take at least 4 years to build, and that's pretty fast already. So we actually wanted to build something in between for our player base and community to engage in. Otherwise, people you know there is nothing to engage the community with, and that's why we wanted to build a center simulation. Simulation is like kind of like SimCity. It's you own the lands and you kind of build buildings, you collect resources. Um, and it's a bit of a fun game to build. It's also kind of like how um, Illuvium Zero was built. Illuvium is building a full UE5 game, and then on top of that, they wanted landowners also to have like a side game where they could collect resources in between. So that was our commitment to doing that. So the landholders are not only just buying a JPEG, but also have something to engage and play with on the side. Let me see if I should check out any other questions. But yeah, so anyways, that was the kind of the way we decided to pursue it. Obviously, there's it's been doing the simulation has been surprisingly challenging, and the reason why um, is because our kind of our land deeds. I mean, we're super proud of them, and we think that it's definitely top notch in the crypto industry. But to replicate the UE5 thing into a browser engine, it's kind of been a bit difficult. So we're working on that. We're it's the reason we wanted to hold off showing that is because we wanted to. Uh, I was very satisfied with it. My bar is pretty high, so wanted to push the team to make it look better, play better, and that's what we're working on. The team is working pretty hard at the moment at delivering that. So yeah, so also from the token side, listing side, that's in the strong works, and then the game side is in the works as well. So overall, I think our kind of the package of that the products we're giving is um, stellar. And yeah, I mean the mint is definitely a kind of a interesting. We definitely wanted to, of course, have more minters to mint it and just hopefully distribute it through our community as well because um, I think having I think a lot of NFT holders have this defensive projects have this defensibility where the community members bought the NFTs, are committed to it, and they have a stake in the whole project, and that's what we've decided to build this a land for, so that we could create kind of a community and a commitment for our holders. So we're working hard on that, and we will handle we'll figure out what to do, what the kind of the remaining supply. Definitely cutting supply is one of the. There's several suggestions that I saw, and I'll take a look and think through every one of them. Cutting supply is not as easy as you would expect, because definitely um, it's it's more it's it's a game. So the lands were balanced in a way. That's why we have such a weird a land number. I've been telling people let's have some a round number, but no, we actually because there's there's land sizes, there's building plots, how much you could build on the land, there's resources, and there's two cities, so each city has its own type of resource too. So if we just randomly cut, then the game is imbalanced in some ways. But it's something we have to discuss with my team about like how do we do so. And that also means that the airdrop rewards go to a more concentrated pool of community holders. So that's something that I think is incredibly great for our community members and supporters. And also those that have minted max mints. We're aware about it. We take a look at it, and people have also sweeped. We on the OpenSea floor. We know it, and we're very grateful for the support. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting you know ways we could um, you know kind of build the project. And I think like periods like these are really great way to bond the whole community to work together and then we've been seeing it a lot of suggestions about what to do with the remaining supply and what our next actions are and I think that's a great thing and many projects have had to deal with the same thing and seen some of those and we are in this situation where we bond closer together. So actually seen some of Peckham's proposal, still digesting it, of course. Um, KKR, of course, Gandalf. Actually, like there are actually a lot of Foggy, of course, great community members engaged. Actually, there's a few ETH lizards that actually made really you know good comments about what we could have done better. There's a lot of things we could have done better in terms of like uh, marketing or shortening the NFT cycles, the sale to FOMO people. But like yeah, I think we believe that we should uh, you know build price the NFTs like we think it's reasonable and we go build from there. I think overall should be very uh, it would be a very interesting road ahead, and we'll work hard in providing value to our NFT holders and community holders, and we'll definitely lean in into listening to what you guys want to take the project. So let me check out if the lounge if there's any great questions. Super max max. Let's go. Let's see. Yeah, it's quite interesting. We actually try to commit to a date, and sometimes it's very difficult because it's there's things you don't really foresee when building, and like or bugs or things that you don't see, and it's quite hard. And we did a like a kind of a mad dash to hit the Ascension Day, which is what we really wanted to. Uh, get to Ascension Day Ascension and that's why some things we could have communicated a bit better but sometimes these things are kind of like a float see do we need to fill resources in the land yeah you just collect the resources yes of course it's playable on mobile so one really interesting thing about our little demo that we did on Senders is that we had really good actually reception on it. At the same time, it's like not everybody had the kind of the computer to play it. So what we really want to do with this sender simulation is make it accessible, both from a kind of like a mobile point of view, mobile browser, and also a PC. Just anyone who wants to connect would be good. Are we planning to update the simulation white paper? Yes. Actually, like some people we recently released it. Some people actually gave me a list of questions, which are very yeah. We'll go around and see what's appropriate to answer. Some things a bit kind of a um, difficult answer, or like it's a bit like it's in the works. So or we could take sometimes we could make kind of three decision down the road, like just say like what to do with the NFT supply, and like they're all reasonable options to take, and you just have to debate and think through it. So sometimes it's that it's not like we don't want to answer the question. It's just like we're still like debating and thinking through kind of the options. So yeah, mobile is definitely it's a mobile. It's accessible. So we took a bit of time to build kind of the mobile interface as well, so that people could click around with it. Um, the the graphics wise, we are working with it with the limitations of like kind of a browser engine. That it's less pretty from a UE5 perspective. We're quite used to doing it. It's we could also show a bit some of the kind of uh, our UE5 trailers also actually built in UE5, so that's a lot of interesting work. Yeah. So what else do you want to see? Yeah. So we actually don't need to bridge the lands. So the question from Nicholas says is what's the relation between the center simulation assets and the main game when released? Does the lands need to be bridged and Avalanche in the main game? Is that true? We don't have to bridge it. I mean, we could just read the wallet. And the wallet, you have same address in your ETH, Avalanche, Arbitrum, and basically it's it's painful for players to move their assets from chain to chain. It should really be seamless. So it's really the it's really the kind of the um, yeah. So you don't really have to bridge. So I mean, the really cool thing that what we did with the lands is that we built a. I think we could maybe someday we could try to get another team member talking about how we did our lands. We actually built them for real. So the buildings and the lands are all in 3D. They are in Unreal 5. So what's really cool is then, if we needed to just say load it into Fortnite Creative, we could, because those real assets and you could actually walk around, interact with it. And unlike some NFTs are JPEGs, you can only use the asset once. It's just for the NFT, whereas ours is all 3D, and that's really why we took so our time to building it. Is we built it for real, and if you build it for real, you build it once, you could always reuse it. Let's see, so that's the thing. So yeah, so the tokens okay. Let's see, Rice ASIM token is like a gem which we use to upgrade building, and yeah, so there is like kind of ASIM tokens is kind of like a bit like there's actually like a lot of people hate to token model, but actually it's quite well used in mobile. There's a kind of like a pay token, gem token, and there's also a currency token which you reward your free players. They put some effort and work into it to do that. So you kind of want to use the kind of the AGEM token to accelerate the kind of the premium kind of thing that is, and you burn that token as you kind of progress. So which one would be airdrop for the landowners? I think we're not limiting it to any. So obviously the most closest is AGEM. I mean, closest is a center simulation. So that's what we want to do first. I mean, there is no, uh, yeah. So we'll see if there's more to come, and if there is any airdrop, the land NFT holders definitely come to mind first. So that's working. What type of interaction player browser and click in return time mission like Mario Brothers? It's more like yeah. There is no UE5 on browser. The browser is just not powerful enough. Unity there is some Unity. You could use Unity on the browser, but then the plugins are kind of outdated, so it's not great as well. And we've always built everything in Unreal 5, so we're using a, a browser-based engine, and it's quite unique. And interaction-wise, it's kind of like SimCity, like you or Clash of Clans, where you collect resources and you build buildings and you build build buildings and stuff like that. So so That's what we are doing when we test the game. How to earn. Yeah, so that's coming up. We're still like working on the. It's interesting on building um a Sim City like. It's a lot of it is actually the kind of the back end and the UI UX, the interfaces. The graphics actually come slots in the last moment at the last moment, so you could put placeholders as replacement for buildings. So you could put like a weird mouse or a cup as a placeholder as for the buildings, and you upgrade them, and then at the end when everything works, the whole flow works. That's when you upgrade the kind of the graphics, and we're trying to make it similar to our UE5 asset. That's the goal, but also it's nowhere as capable as the kind of um, the UE5, the whole game engine. Actually, a lot of using a game engine makes building things a lot easier because a lot of things they've already built or somebody's built. So on the UE store, you can just buy it. Like even the interfaces, you could just go to a store and just buy it, and you could tweak it to make it suit your needs. And you can't do that with the browser because it's just engines are not as mature. So is total supply 7742 max land supply, or is there more in the future? Well, I mean, we haven't decided what to do with the remaining lands. The idea was that the lands are unique in the amount of lands in, for example, Olympus or Alexandria are kind of fixed already. There's no lands coming from Alexandria and Olympus, but we don't exactly rule out like more lands coming out that are different. Um, so different area, different climate, but then they're definitely not the Genesis kind of land mints. So that was the kind of the idea we had in mind. But yeah, we'll see, we'll assess it and see if there's like I think if to do another land sale, we really do have to like um, we have to think about it and make sure that the demand is there and doesn't hurt our current holders before we do that. There's always a sense of dilution, but then that's why we have exclusive city resources to each land. So there is no dilution in terms of that resource. So that's what that is. How far is SimCity from city skyline we're talking about here? Can watch buildings grow? Yeah, I mean that's the whole point is like to keep upgrading and building the 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 buildings, right? That's the kind of the satisfaction. I know I had good times playing that. Just watching the city grow. I'm more of that builder kind of player. When I play Clash of Clans, like I just like upgrading the buildings. I don't really like the fighting part of it. And yeah, when it took me a week to upgrade a building, I was like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm not playing this thing anymore. But some people like to continue grinding it despite being released like more than 10 years ago. Um, see why do you guys create new tokens of center simulation and not use AGC and GG tokens? What's the reasoning behind this? Um, yeah, so that's a really good question. Technically, they're separate games. We wanted to build it within the Ascenders universe. Obviously it's best to have one token. It is also interesting to think about is that with the current climate of tokens, I mean the market cap of these tokens can't be even that high. So if you're building an action RPG and you're spending $6 million in, I mean, like, what kind of valuation do people want to get in at, right? Simulation is kind of like SimCity. It's much, the it's on the browser. It's less graphical intensive, but more accessible. So yeah, that could be priced quite reasonably for the token holders. So that's kind of the consideration behind it. I know like many like games, you know, our peers that made games in crypto industry, valuations are 60 mil, 100 mil with private investors. Where would that land? When I mean, I think a lot of the kind of games, especially like high end games, will struggle in launching a token in in the market. So by differentiating it, having two different tokens, also people, who are bullish on the Sender Simulation, which is a browser game, could invest in that. And if people are interested in the action RPG, would invest in the action RPG game. So kind of like how Google separated the search engine business with, the Alphabet, which is their more risk taking business. So they split the share stock like that. So that was kind of the concept, because if we wanted to launch a token today, you can't launch it at prices in 2021, and people wouldn't buy it even if they like the game. So that's the kind of like rationale behind it. Um, yeah, I mean the buildings. We actually do have like a road plan, like how to expand the game. How do you get missions, get heroes from there, and on Ascender Simulation. So it's more than a kind of a just Sim City, but also that's something in the works. Will be transaction in each upgrade of anything, like Matic for each action. Yeah, so we try to short answer is yes and no. Um, it's it's definitely like you you could batch transaction essentially. So you could run you could actually like um, you could play the game without updating the blockchain, and then when you do, you could run the transaction. But whenever there's certain situation when you want to upgrade a building and you burn resources, then you need to update the blockchain. So we're trying to minimize gas here as much as possible. So that's the idea behind it. Main game launch, the AAA game. Yeah, that's in the works. It's very hard to give you the community like a exact time, and that's why actually most AAA games just don't give you a timeline. Zelda was didn't give you a timeline until it was ready. Like it was 7 years in the making. So it was worth it. It's worth the wait for those fans. And um, yeah, it's complicated in terms of building it. So I'll explain quite quickly why action RPG MMO class games take that long. Um, it's how many systems you need to build a game, right? So, for example, if you are building a racing game, you need a car. The car has its acceleration, deceleration, and and there are the specs. And basically, that's one system. And then you have the road, the track, which is another system. And maybe they crash and deform, but that's relatively simple. So it's really just two systems to build a game. So it's quite simple as a game to build. You don't really have to build much in that sense. You just need to build different cars, and you have to build different tracks. Um, Same with like a shooter game. It's well loved genre, but essentially you have guns. You have different guns. They have different recoil rates, impact rates, and stuff like that. That's one system, and you have the map, right? Maps could be very complicated. You could design very complicated maps, but generally you get a really good map designer, and you create map creation tools, and you could pop them out quite quickly. More sophisticated games have like uh, maybe a movement system. So Apex, I like Apex. They have a different type of movement system, or they have a special. Each hero has character has a special skill, so that's a different system. So that those are still on the relatively simple side of games. Obviously, making sure the gun feels right, the movement feels right is a delicate art of how you do that. So we'll compare with action RPG, right? Action RPG, you have the crafting, you have the character, you have the character builder, right? Like choose the character and stuff like that. You have a marketplace system, and then you have like different like roles, right? I mean, some people have mages, swordsmen, and stuff like that. They have the different skill tree. Each skill tree is a separate system. Each time you upgrade, you update the game. You need to like make sure all the characters are taken account with. Um, and there's just a lot of complexity in it, and you have to do live services too. So you actually have to build a server and to house that. It's not as easy as people think. A lot of MMO, like it's interesting. I learned from my kind of team members is that um, there is no real MMO. So there's kind of it's all games are all smokes and illusions. So if you enter a server, World of Warcraft, you have 3,000 people in the server, and you and your friends want to hang out in one of the cities, and you're like, hey, hang out in the fountain. You usually have, there's usually like there's a limit of maybe 60 players per place instance. And if there's more than 60 players in that area, they have to spin up a separate server. So it looks, you have maybe like if you have many people in that city, you would actually have like multiple instances with 60 players each. And then each time someone, kind of fades away in the background, if you're in the fountain waiting for a friend, it fades away. There, sometimes the game is just moving people across instances. So they're just moving people around and the reason why you see your friends in the game is because you added them as friends, so the server kind of knows, oh, these people better be in the same instance. Or I whisper to my friend, like talk to my friend, like, hey, let's meet up in the fountain. Yeah, so um, that's how games like kind of like fake or smoke and mirrors that it's a true multi massive online player client grade. And 60 is probably like closer to the limit of technology. There's obviously different engines that they try to push it a little further, but like each if you want to support like 60 players, then the graphic quality can't be that high. And if you go ultra high graphics, then maybe you could go to 4 people or 3 people. So because each time you have to like you do a movement, it uploads to the server, and the server has to update to everyone around you, the clients around you. So that's why action RPGs are very, very difficult to build. Zelda's not online too, so they took 7 years, but it's not online, so it's one system that's not needed. But that makes them be able to focus in building the story, the player experience, the interactions, stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, the game trailer is amazing. It is. We do like we think it's top notch work. Web page doesn't reflect the quality of the game. Yeah, so web page the characters wise, I've been always um the characters don't look as great. It's not fine. No, I'm finding all the characters we've been building is characters that we have to build for the game. So doing a nice concept art in mid journey, create a lot of really cool characters in mid journey. The way that looks and the way it actually looks in game is kind of different. There's different factors into doing it. Um, yeah, so like we'll work on kind of like making sure the 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 nice cinematic look is there. Website update, we've just updated it a little bit. Don't want to do another like concept art because we actually built like so once you do the concept art of what a character is, we actually have to model that into um in the game. So there's a modeler who models that, make sure it looks exactly like the concept art, and then also doing like joints, and animation. That all needs to be like it's a pipeline. So it's quite a lot of things you do. Quite interesting thing I learned is that you want to do anime-ish or cartoony kind of characters in games. It's actually more difficult to do than real characters or characters with real proportions. Because we do motion capture with real humans, and real humans have a certain proportion, and you could relay that into the game. But if it's an anime or little characters with weird different proportions, then you really have to adjust every single animation per person, so it adds cost. So doing something more anime sometimes, or people who are wide eyes kind of things, it's more costly to do than making it look hyper real. So it's another interesting thing. Uh, Mind the dollar, yeah, haven't seen that before. Was the main economy built around trading resources? Anything else? So, the really concept of uh, Sender's action RPG um, is that we could build like a game where EVE Online been cited quite a bit, about having player-driven economies, and we wanted to do a player-driven economy in Ascender. So the concept is kind of like Lego. I always use this example, Lego. people don't um, people don't want. I mean, I when I buy Lego, I don't really want to buy a Lego piece and have it pre-installed for me. I kind of like the process of building it myself, and that's probably the way to. And that process of building it is the enjoyment, the fun of playing it. So there's that. Um, and um, and yeah, a lot of games. I think we saw Eve Online, and we saw some Eve Online kind of games coming out in Web3. Uh, and I think that's the wrong approach. I mean, the reason why they have wrong approach is they're selling spaceships. Those spaceships are ready made. I think during the bull market, people bought these spaceships for $1 million. Um, but it's super boring. I mean, when the game comes out, right, and it's like I already have the coolest spaceship, and and what am I going to do in the game? I mean, I already have the $1 million spaceship. Everything is like I could kill to dust. So that's the problem with like having economy where the developers make all the items and then players buy it. Whereas if you could create a Eve Online type of economy, people collect resources in various places, like in the player lane or in the fighter lane, they collect their own exclusive resources. The explorer collects their own resources, and the builders have their own type of resources. And in combination, you create certain weapons, items, and stuff like that. And people, the interaction is people trading and trading with each other. So, you might look at the market, you might look at the patch notes, figuring out, hey, maybe, due to this patch note, this resource is more scarce or more rare, and I could buy up in a quarter of the market. So that kind of like dynamic economy is something that the reason why we started Senders. I think that kind of uh, vision is very exciting in crypto. Like there's speculation into it, speculation of the resources and tokens. You can just craft the whole world around it. And I want players to buy things from other players, not buy things from us. And I think that's the kind of ambition we had for building the action RPG. Yeah, so like I think yeah, I mean aside from fighting people, is another way to interact with people. Trading resources is something that super interesting. And then building buildings, having that flex. Even online people built the spaceship that took years. Like I heard it took 6 months to build. Like so, with like hundreds of people playing around with it. So that's really cool. And I think if we could do a Web3 version of that, that would be incredibly successful. Just because there's degens and people love degening games. Um, so simulation is Clash of Clans. Yeah, yeah, I think more Sim City. Clash of Clans. I mean, one really good thing about Clash of Clans, they did the design. In SRR Premier Amber Sword. Yeah, Amber Sword been building for 4 years too, so hasn't really released much, but yes, kind of like it. Clash of Clans really cool is they have a way to destroy kind of items. So uh, I mean, yeah, I mean they have clans and they fight with each other. So we don't have that yet, but something we could consider as well. So because you work a lot and you build your thing, and then why even lie so balanced or so balanced, but the way it's interesting is these items get destroyed again. And it kind of resets the economy, and you have to rebuild the thing after it getting destroyed. So that keeps inflation in check, because you could definitely get power level a lot and get like a lot of resources all over time, and um, it becomes like it becomes like uh, what's that Dragon Ball? It's like each time Goku comes out and kills it, goes defeats an enemy. You're like, oh, that's like the ultimate. And then every like, and then 10 years later, he's still fighting bosses stronger and stronger. That's kind of like the building game without kind of a destructive element to it. So, but yeah, I mean, it could still be really fun, especially with a bigger complexity of building a city. Like in the beginning, you're building a small city, and then it gets bigger, and then you have to manage a bigger economy, so it might be more challenging. So yeah, parallel teams working simulation and action RPG. um, Yeah, of course, we want to make the simulation engaging. Um, Gain traction, open and bring people to play, spend time. Yeah, so I mean that's a really good question. So I mean simulation, the skill set's a bit different. Building a browser game and building a UE5 game. There's some parallels like with sometimes with art. Um, but overall they're kind of in a way different people. Let's see. Push team marketing game gaining traction and occupancy, bring people play, spend time with the game, build this token. Yeah, so one thing about like the game launch, which you know we're we're building towards is that um we kind of wanted to have it with the token. I think the token kind of is a kind of a marketing tool to get people to play the game too. So that's something that is something we're cognizant in mind. So if we get a really good listing venue or launch pad and it requires us to delay the game launch, I think we'll do that because um, the yeah, I mean, people just say we get into a very popular one, and people who are looking at these tokens like want to do some research about like what are they investing in or what are they um, so yeah, so that's a driver of demand for the game. So that's something I have in mind. The game would be ready by then, but then like getting the using token as a funnel for people to engage with us is cool. um yeah, I mean, OpenSea is good. I think tokens is definitely more interesting. I'll be honest, because it's just much more accessible. I mean, when you're buying a token, you just buy the token. The only thing you have to think about is the size, how much you want to buy. Um, Whereas if you're looking at NFTs, you're looking at all these rarities. Rarity tool is a fair price. This is well floor. There's a lot more consideration. So it's a bit more difficult for people to get engaged in. But like we want to build it for gamers. So that's why we build our NFTs. So that people could um, interact with a different way. I personally had a lot of fun, collecting Pokemon cards and collecting uh, Pokemon. And if there was a Pokemon token, it's you kind of forget about it, right? Whereas the experience you had, my friend traded a freaking Pikachu against a shiny Mewtwo. It's like, dude, did you watch that Pokemon TV show, man? Like, the Pikachu is the strongest, man. Like, your Mewtwo's useless, and he traded this this common Pikachu card that's non-shiny for this ultra rare Mewtwo card. These are Gen 1 cards back then. So yeah, yeah, he told me that story. He ripped off the guy. You remember these kind of stories and these kind of childhood stuff. So that's what we want to do with NFT, and also make sure NFTs are kind of like you know a certain quality, because you want to build your buildings and upgrade your buildings, right? But at the same time, like uh, you want to build your own city. So uh, so yeah, you want to do that. By the same time, like with our NFTs, we wanted people to have a certain look and certain pre-built what it would look like. But yeah, so that's why we did this design. Let's see if you have any more questions. I think answered some of them. Let's see, 10.2K. Oh, quite a lot of people are typing. Blue from both senders. Yeah, really should have done this earlier, especially maybe during the mint, to give you some like thought process behind it. Obviously, we kind of should have showed more of the. I think our Unreal 5 work has been very good, so we really want to show it. Snapshot for holders, yeah, like we don't have exact. I mean, right now we haven't even finished the mint yet. So we will think about what to do with remaining supply and when the snapshot would be. And would it be exact? Yeah, it would be exact snapshot. Well, what I mean by that is that do we snapshot one period and then give all the tokens in one go, or that's kind of like I think some people from ETH Lizard, I think ETH Lizard Tips always said that is gonna like tank the NFT prices. That's not ideal too, right? So you kind of want to give people airdrop tokens, but at the same time, maybe like slowly as they progress through the game as well. So it's and then you also have synergies between the kind of the having more land, so you get more progress. So that's that. Come up with something good, but we want to see something. Yeah, I mean, we'll work towards and showcasing a bit more. But yeah, yo, Blue, how? What's up, man? Pikachu. See, I don't know. I just this is the first time doing this AMA thing, so I don't know uh if we have if it could be downloaded and shared. Yeah, it progressively makes more sense, right? I mean, it's like you want people to be continuously being a holder. This is weird thing in crypto where previously um where I was farming some different tokens and there would be like a time period when the everyone's locked for like 2 weeks and then or 3 weeks and then the moment that epoch is over, everybody races to sell because the airdrop period is decided, and that's just really bad. Like it's really bad way to. Uh, and people do MEV and stuff like that, so they're first one out as well. So it's just like not very. It's not very good overall. Minting issues. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, good game. We're working on it. We're working hard. Um, yeah, and the thing is like, yeah, I wanted to make sure it hits a certain level before we release it. So, I'm whipping the team, whipping the team hard. Like, trust me, I'm putting so much pressure on them. Uh, yeah. But like, if you only have like one time, one shot to make their a really good impression. So we didn't really want to um if we had to delay it to make a better impression, then we delay it. But like it's important to have the first impression because in this attention economy, if you make the wrong impression the first time, it's not that great. So that's the opinion. Minting issues. I have no idea what the cause is. What? Yeah, but you already minted before, so yeah, a connection between simulation and action or RPG where progress with rebounds or best in any way you can craft all OP stuff in day one. You definitely have this balancing issue because people later you don't want the game where people came who started at the who just joined the game being severely disadvantaged compared to people who started in day one. But at the same time, the people in day one should have some sort of advantage. So definitely like skins is definitely one way where it's super ultra flex to have that skin because you belong to a certain OG class. So that's one way to make it plausible. There are different ways where some items are just no longer in production or circulation. So it might not be. There's people worry about the balance of games quite a bit. The key to balancing these games and like for example, our co-founder used to work, did Call of Duty is there are guns that are really good at certain things and certain guns are certain bad at certain things. So sniper is really good at long range, but very weak in short range unless you're god AW here. Um, and some guns like are really good. MP7 really good in short range, really bad in long range. So it's OP in one sense, but never completely OP. That's the kind of the balance that you have to strike between balancing items and stuff like that. So that's the idea. Is it's OP if you play a certain way, uh, but if you don't play in that certain way, it's not OP at all. It's really really crap. So that's the where to get hold of roll. We're working on it, and yeah, once we're working on that right now. So that's automatic mood. Yeah, thanks, Game Tofu. Uh, been a supporter. Also, gave us good feedback. So we've I've always taken a look at it. Sometimes don't immediately reply because there's things that we need to discuss and talk about. Uh, but yeah, I see them. Yeah, so I think that's we should do this more often, and probably force some of our game designers to talk about you know what's it like building the game, right? I mean, our team designers has been very let's say reclusive. Come on, game developers, they're pretty reclusive. They're very shy usually. So that's something that I'll have to work in getting that better. And speaking to you guys a bit more. Maybe boring talking to you guys, listening to a single guy, but maybe if I have two people talking to me, in bouncing the idea will be good. Manhua, dude, I would like manhua, man. But yeah, that's a good way to showcase the story. But yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, we'll take it one step at a time. And I think buildings are priority right now. Mid's nice, but like you know, CS tournament. Yeah, Lalouch wants to do a CS tournament, so haven't played CS for a while, but I should be able to beat Lalouch sometime as well. But yeah, definitely we'll give that a shot, and we'll also try to do like a more kind of behind the scenes kind of creation kind of things. And it's behind the scenes, so guys don't hold us to that kind of standard where it's perfect, looks perfect. I do think our NFTs and the land viewer are kind of perfect, like perfect in kind of looks and everything. It's exceeded my expectations. Um, but yeah, we'll have to figure out one thing we have to figure out is figure out what to do with the remaining supply. We also have to figure out how do we balance the remaining supply as well. Like, so if we reduce the number of the number of NFTs, how do I ensure that's a good balance? Like how to make sure the game is balanced. With less resources out there or less land sizes out there. Um, or we put the one way is also another way is put them as the unminted ones into like a kind of a loot box where people buy. It's definitely if being sold by us, it's going to be above floor price for sure. And you get a random one from there. So even if the revealed one is kind of imbalanced in a certain way, people could you know play the loot box to unlock it and have like and potentially get like a land that has more resources into it. So I don't know. I don't know when we would handle that. Reveal dates. Reveal dates. We have to figure out what to do with the remaining supply before we figure out uh, um, the rebuild date. Because if we if we lock the supply at like whatever 2,500 whatever, um, then there's certain lands that are kind of um, originally it was distributed very well. Like it's this 7742. It's distributed very well. Different land sizes, different resources, different cities. The fear is that reveal and then everyone has one city and the other city's super rare, and certain resources are not accessible. Then kind of like jinx the balance. So we'll have to figure out that. Um, we see people from the team on the server. Actually, some of them are here. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's also like not everyone wants to hang out in Discord. Some people just don't want to hang out in Discord. But yeah, I mean, when we have a more interesting game, I think we'll come back, right? Open share screen and open. May in a Senators game, I mean, you know what's gonna happen, right? I'm gonna share a screen and you guys gonna just see my porn. Actually, I had a meeting once, where I had a meeting, and then the guy had his porn somewhere in the background. I was like, I wasn't so like, I didn't want to like point it out, so I was like, oh shit. But yeah. Anyways, that's a good AMA, and we'll figure out. I'll read. There are some suggestions about what to do with remaining supply, and we'll take it all in. I'll talk to my team and figure out what the best solution is. And yeah, we'll figure that out, and then and once we figure it out, we'll also have we'll also nail down kind of the reveal date and stuff like that in game launch. Sanders Rule 34. Yeah, that's good. It's good that OpenSea floor has moved. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's great speaking with you guys, and yeah, I mean, I'll definitely like find another team member to speak towards, because this sounds like more of a lecture. But of course, I'm reading some of your questions. Land staking mechanics. Yeah, we actually have some like synergies between the lands. Owning 5 lands, and kind of like yeah, we'll speak about it a bit later with maybe our game designer, a man of culture. All right, I think we had a long session, so we'll take it easy, and then we'll have these from time to time. Land of Valeria. Okay, take a look at it. We'll see what we could do. Oh, I've seen that. I've opened OpenSea before. Land of Valeria. Damn, 0.43. Lands look like shit though, but I'll look. I'm sure they've done very well, and that's why they have such a floor price. Land staking. Ah, yeah. Well, yeah. We'll definitely we're open for it, and we'll figure it out. All right. See you guys. Yeah. What happened to a lot of lands missed the answer. Well, I don't know. Like, especially if some of the lands are omitted, what happens to our land viewer too? Because our land viewer is quite nice. Right now, or we just put all the unminted land into a loot drop, and you could, you know, try your luck and see if you get a colossal. All right. See you guys. Good time. Bye bye.